Hey there, Ninja. Okay, so if I say parent handbook or home daycare handbook, is this your immediate reaction? If so, you definitely want to stay with me this evening because it is Monday Moves and I'm going to help you make this process super easy. Stay tuned, Ninja. You got this. Welcome back, Ninjas. Nikki V here, and I am your host and founder of ChildcareNinjas.com. I help women create and grow a childcare business that is simple, fun, and successful. So in 2006, I started my home childcare business with next to nothing, and I've grown it to multiple six figures along with multiple facilities. And so now I find it to be my mission to equip other women to do the same thing. So each Monday I come in here and I bring with me some strategies and tips to help you succeed on your childcare ownership journey. So, if this is your first time here joining me this evening, then please be sure to click on the button below and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss out on another episode. So once again, welcome to Monday Moves, and this is episode 6. Now tonight I'm going to be talking with you about the must-have components for your home daycare handbook. This is super important because you definitely want to have a handbook in play for both your clients and for yourself. And so we're going to discuss why you need that and what should go in it. This tends to be another hang up for many home daycare providers. And you do not want to be that business owner that doesn't have one in place. And it doesn't have to be a super hard process to make one and to create one. And so tonight, I want to help you create one in the simplest way possible, but still making sure that you have all those must-have components so that you don't end up being another statistic in the childcare industry. So let's get started. First things first, you might be saying, why do I even need this handbook? I'm a small, in-home daycare provider. I don't need to have like a handbook. That's for like big guys, right? Wrong. You definitely want to have a home daycare handbook for two very simple and very important reasons. One, you want to cover yourself. You want to make sure that you have things that are written down that explains to your client how you do things and why you do things. You never want to have a situation come up where they're saying you didn't say something to them or you never told them. And so having a home daycare handbook is the best way to do that. Yes, we do have contracts that tell, what time a client is supposed to drop off and what time a client is supposed to pick up. But this handbook goes well beyond that. And so it's not something that you want to overlook. No matter how small you think you are, you need a home daycare handbook. Okay. The other reason, like I said before, is so that you can inform your clients of what you do, who you are, and how you do what you do. And that could be whether it is the good part or the bad part. The good part being, I do, home daycare and I'm open these certain hours. The bad part could be that part where you have to say, you've been late X amount of times. I'm going to have to charge you, or I'm going to have to suspend you, or that type of thing. But whether or not it's a conversation that is comfortable or uncomfortable in your childcare business, you definitely want to make sure that your clients, your parents, have a heads up onto how it will be handled in the future if it needs to be handled. And that is where this handbook comes into play. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to have a home daycare handbook, no matter how small or how big you are. Now, of course, the big daycares, the big childcare businesses, of course, they have one in place. And they may have a lot of other things that they deal with. You may be just starting out, but you still need to put a handbook in place that your clients can go to, and that you can go to if you ever need to remind them of what your rules and policies and procedures are. Another thing you want to look at is the fact that when you do have a handbook for your childcare business, your clients will take you much more seriously. It brings out a professional element of your business as well. And so don't treat yourself like a babysitter, or your clients will treat you like a babysitter. Treat yourself like the professional that you are, and your clients will treat you like a professional as well. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that you have a handbook in place. And so do not skip this part of your journey. Make sure that you have one. And if you do have one, let's say you've been in business for a year or two, definitely go back and recheck it. Make sure things still apply. Maybe things have changed in your business. So it's not something that you just create one time and you never think about again either. It is something that you definitely want to come back to repeatedly and check and make sure that, things are still in play, and take those things out and update it and renew it as you see fit. But first things first, let's get it done. Okay? So let's get started with some of the basics that need to go into your home daycare handbook. Okay, so with the basics, it's pretty obvious. This is honestly probably the easiest part of putting your handbook together, to be honest, because this is the good part. This is the part where there's no confrontations that you're referring to or anything like that. So this is kind of like that fun, easy, hey, get to know me part, So in the basics, I like to call it the good, because this is the basics. And you want to make sure that, you're putting in there who you are, who helps you if you have a team or you have an assistant that might fill in when you are not able, to be there, or if you have appointments and things like that. You also may want to throw in this part, like why you started your childcare business, what your background is, and it doesn't have to be anything major. Honestly, this could be maybe like one paragraph or something like that. And just on another note, your handbook does not have to be like pages long either. You do want to get the main information, which is why I put this together. There are some components that you do not want to leave out. However, it does not have to be a 50-page document. Okay. So, it's just like a small paragraph about who you are, who helps you, maybe why you started, what your educational background is, if you have one, or, just what qualifies you to be able to do this. And so you can have that in there. You also want to have, along with the basics, your hours, obviously. And hours becomes very, very important if you are a 24-hour childcare business, because 24 hours in many people's minds, it tells them that they can just leave their kids as long as they want, or, as long as they need to. So you definitely want to make sure that you have some type of phrasing in there that states, while we are a 24-hour childcare business, we provide according to what the hours are on your contract, et cetera, et cetera. So just making sure that you address that in this area is pretty good. I would say that is a pretty good idea. So you want to definitely put your hours in there, put your pricing in there. If you have like any registration fees or anything like that, then that you would want to make sure that's definitely in your handbook as well. Also, drop off and pick up. Sometimes it's forgotten about, but if you have a certain space in your home that is specifically for your childcare business, and I've seen where a home childcare may have a basement door that leads right into the childcare space as opposed to using the front door. Make sure that your parents are aware of where they are to pick up and drop off, what door they should be using, unless of course there's an emergency or something like that. But you want to specify that, and that is a good place to do that, and make sure that you have that in there. And also how they can contact you during the hours of care. You definitely want to have that information in your handbook. And there are a gazillion probably other things that you can think of to put in as your basics, but I just wanted to get your mind just kind of flowing and started with what types of things you want to put in this part of your handbook. And so these are some of the things that you do not want to forget, and some of the main things that you definitely want to have inside that handbook for your parents. And so now, with that being said, everything isn't always good, right? Sometimes we have the bad. And I kind of think of the bad as maybe like those extras that have to go in, or the warnings that you may have to, make parents aware of. And so when I'm talking about this part, I'm talking about the things that are kind of like, if you have a late pickup, what is the fee for that? If you have, if you drop off late, if you even allow that, is there a different fee for that? So these are the kinds of things, that you're thinking about whenever we're talking about this section, or not necessarily section, but something to think about putting inside your handbook as well. And so you want to think about those warnings that you may have to give to parents, and just let them know, like, okay, if your payment has been late, 2 or 3 consecutive times, then you might have XYZ that happens, with your care. If your child is absent for X amount of days, then this is how we handle that. If you haven't gotten your registration fee in by, within 48 hours or something like that of your visit, then your space is no longer held. If you do things like that, I just want to give you ideas of things that are kind of on the lines of, they're not horrible things that could happen, but they are things that will, definitely possibly cause a little bit of, not confrontation, but definitely cause a little bit of, quietness. We'll put it that way. And so we definitely want to be on the same page. And a lot of times too, you don't want to run into a situation where you've done something for one parent, word gets out, you do it differently for another parent, and there was no, form or no format or no rules or policies or regulations put into play that stated, this is how I'm going to do it. And so now they're coming back at you saying, well, you did it for this parent, or you did it for that parent, or, that type of thing. You can definitely go to your policy and say, look, this was my policy, you signed off on it. And so that type of thing. And that is one thing that having a handbook in play for your childcare business is going to help you do. Okay. Stay on track and help you be able to go back and say, no, this is what we agreed to. So, that is one of the big reasons you definitely want to have something in play for your childcare business that says, this is how we handle this particular incident. Okay. And then also, when you're looking at what I do call kind of like, let's say the ugly, like termination is usually the ugly, but, and as much as we hate to even consider or think about terminating a family from our care, we have to be honest that from time to time it can happen. And so you want to definitely have, in play a policy that states, these are the things that could lead up to termination. This is how we handle termination. And so that way, if it ever comes to that, you have covered yourself, and that client knows up front, honestly, that, their particular behavior or, their actions have led to the termination. And there's really no question, although you may still, it does not guarantee that it'll be easy. It does not guarantee that, it won't happen. None of that. Things happen. There are sometimes disgruntled clients, and there's really not much that we can do about that as long as we have done our best to, run our businesses professionally in a professional manner and offer the services to the very best of our ability. There's not much that we can do about that disgruntled client that is upset, and 99.9% of the time it is because they are not able to get their way in a particular situation. But when you have your handbook in play, and they really already know the policies and procedures, then, there's really nothing that they really have to stand on that. So that's another reason. Please do not overlook this part of your journey. Please make sure that you have a handbook that is in play, that is up to date, that is valid and relevant to your childcare business in its current position and at the current time. So those are the things that I really wanted to talk with you about. Like, you definitely want to keep those things in mind. And when it comes to termination, one thing that I definitely make sure that I do is I do print out a termination letter. And then I will also bring out the part of the handbook that is being violated per se, so that they can, I will highlight that and make sure that they have that information so that there's no question as to why the termination is occurring. Also, another tip I could say is very good as well is having your handbook available in two forms. I know everybody's digital now, so it does help to definitely have a digital copy of your handbook as well as a printed copy. And you can always do like the digital copy that gets emailed to them, and then the paper copy is on hand at the facility if you wanted to do something like that. Make sure that there's a sign-off page where they definitely have their signatures and they sign off on each section. And here's one tip that I think has helped a lot throughout the years, and that is in your handbook, making sure that you don't just have one signature at the bottom of your handbook or at the end of your handbook that just covers everything. Make sure that at each section, so let's say when you are in your pricing section, there's a piece for them to initial there's a piece for them to initial, what happens if they've read what happens if they are late picking up their child. For each section, every section, make sure there's a piece for them to, write their signature or initial where it talks about termination and things like that. Make sure that they can initial off on all of those and then sign for the overall handbook. I do it that way so that there's not a question of, oh, well, you didn't tell me that there was this per minute charge when I'm late. Well, you signed off on it. If you had any questions, you should have asked me, but your signature is telling me that you didn't and that you knew about this. So just make sure that you cover yourself as much as you can in things like this, because they do come up, and the more intentionally you handle it in the beginning, the better for you. And so I just highly recommend definitely looking at some of these things. So I know that it's a lot to take in whenever you are starting to do your handbook. So what I did do was this week's freebie, obviously, is going to help you create a parent handbook for your home daycare business that is going to give you confidence about your policies and your procedures for your childcare business, and help you really think about the things that you need to add in there. Every childcare business is different, and I say this all the time. So people add different things, and some people have dealt with different things already, and so they add certain things in. Definitely come back to it and update it as you need to, but definitely get started. That is the biggest thing. Make sure that you have one in play. Make sure that you handle at least the very basic things that come up, and those very basic ugly things that we don't necessarily really like to, admit happen or come about. So think about it now, work on it now, prepare how you're going to handle it now, because preparation now will save you a huge headache later on. And so definitely click in the show notes below, and you will have a template, which is free to you. You're welcome, to help you plan out everything for your handbook. And then that way, you have something to start with. So I hope that this information was helpful to you. I hope that, you are able to take this and utilize this inside your childcare business. It's such an honor to be able to help people, in their home daycare business, because like I said, when I started in 2006, I had a lot of questions, but I got started. And you may have a lot of questions, but get started. And this is one way for you to get started. Have your handbook created, and start thinking about these things. And click on the link below in the show notes. Definitely go ahead, download that freebie. And if you have questions, please reach out to me, connect with me. You can connect with me on Facebook at Childcare Ninjas. You can also connect with me on the website, childcareninjas.com. And, share with me your experiences. Share with me, what has been helping you, especially if you have been joining me for Monday Moves for a few weeks now. Let me know if this information is helping you and has, just been a blessing and of value to you. I really want to know. Let me know the types of things that you're working on and the types of things that you would like to see me come in here and train you on as well. So I am super excited about your journey, and I hope that you are as excited as I am for you. I will see you next week in the next episode. And until then, you continue to stay amazing and stay awesome. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss another episode. All right, ninjas, you got this. See you next time. Bye. I'm super excited for you and your childcare ownership journey. Keep me posted. Let me know how things are going. And until next week, have a great week. Bye.